So the CX-9 SMG has just dropped in Modern Warfare and Warzone Season 4. Today I'll show you guys the best class setup for this weapon, because with the right attachments this weapon is extremely good, super fast killing and a great all-round SMG in the game. So be sure to stick around until the end of the video to see my best class setup for the CX-9. I'll have separate class setups for Modern Warfare and Warzone. Also, if you need to unlock this weapon, I made a guide on how to do that and you can check that video out if you need to. There'll also be timestamps in the description if you're interested in either Warzone or Modern Warfare multiplayer, and if you need to unlock any camos on this weapon or level it up fast, be sure to check out my camo guides playlist or a weapon XP guide. Again, there'll be cards and links for those available for those guides. Very quickly before we get into the video, I'm also doing a Season 4 COD Points Giveaway, and if you're interested in that, the rules are in the description. So let's start off with the multiplayer class setup and then we'll move on to Warzone. And then I'll have some quick tips towards the end of the video to improve your gameplay with the weapon. So first up, let's talk about multiplayer. In Modern Warfare multiplayer, the class setup you're going to want to put on, in my opinion, is the following. So for the attachments for this weapon, you're going to want to put on the CX-38S barrel, and that increases your damage range, the recoil control, bullet velocity, and it also gives you sound suppression. Having a suppressor on there means enemies are less likely to hear where your gunshots are coming from, makes you more likely to survive. But the downside to this attachment is that you'd have a reduced ADS speed, a reduced movement speed, and also, just as a note, this barrel attachment does actually block you from attaching a muzzle attachment, but this doesn't matter as we won't be needing one. So that's what it does, but don't worry because we've got an excellent class for this weapon. The next attachment you're going to want to put on is the CX-FR stock, and this improves your weapon handling in that it increases your movement speed and your aim down sight speed with the weapon, but the drawback is that you have reduced aiming stability and reduced recoil control. The next attachment will be the sleight of hand perk, and this obviously allows you to reload your weapon faster, so you're less likely to be reloading in the middle of a gunfight and you're more likely to survive, and there are no direct drawbacks to this perk. Next up, we've got the CX-9 tack grip for the rear grip, and this increases your aim down sight speed, your sprint to fire speed, and these both help with you getting on target faster for close quarters combat gameplay. The downside is that you have a poorer aiming stability, but that's okay, it's not a big deal. And finally, we've got the 30 round mags. This increases your magazine size to 30 rounds of 9mm parabellum ammo, with a drawback of a slight weight increase, which obviously reduces your aim down sight speed and your movement speed. Now, if you feel that 30 round mags still aren't enough, you can put on the 50 round mags, but obviously this will increase your weight of the weapon and it will decrease your mobility overall. So 30 round mags is a nice compromise, but if you feel you need more, obviously go up to the 50 rounds. Obviously the base weapon has low ammo and you need to reload quite a lot, so you definitely need some kind of magazine on there for sure. Now for the secondary, I'd recommend putting on something like a launcher, like an RPG, especially on fast-paced maps like Shipment where there's lots of chaos going on. You could also put on a pistol like the Renetti or anything like that. It's up to you guys. It's not too important because mainly we're focusing on the primary weapon. For the perks, you're going to want to put on Scavenger and Perk 1 to allow you to resupply ammo from dead players. Obviously, like we said, you've got a small amount of ammo with this weapon. This helps improve the amount you've got available, as this weapon does burn through it quite fast as well. So definitely recommend having that perk on and running over dead enemy players' bodies when you kill them or when they die, so you can pick up that ammo. In the second perk, I'd recommend putting on High Alert, which allows your vision to pulse when enemies outside of your field of view can see you. So it basically stops you getting shot in the back or from the side because you can see enemies looking at you, and it allows you to duck behind cover or turn around and fight them, whatever you need to do. And then finally in perk 3, we've gone for Tracker, which allows enemies to leave behind a footprint trail, and it also allows you to see markers at enemy death locations and hide the death markers of enemies you kill. So again, it just helps you to kind of see enemies a bit more and hide some of your kills. It allows you to follow them around and kind of kill them in the back or sneak up on them. It's really good for that. Now for the equipment, you're going to want to put on something like a thermite for the lethal, just so you can chuck that if you get into any sticky situations where you can't quite reload or you've run out of ammo or you just need to get a kill and you know a thermite will do a good job. Definitely chuck that down. It's got quite a long range with it. And then for the tactical, I'd recommend putting on the stim shot, just so you can heal when you're in the middle of a gunfight and you don't die. You're more likely to survive. Obviously it's great for that. For the field upgrade, you can put on something like stopping power, which allows your weapon to do more damage at longer ranges with the stopping power bullets. So definitely put that on, but obviously don't reload your weapon with this until you're in a safe place and you're not going to die. Then for the score streaks, you can put on whatever you like, but I went for the UAV, the VTOL and the white phosphorus, but again, it's completely up to you. So that's the class setup for Modern Warfare. What about the class setup for Warzone, as I'm sure most of you will probably be interested in? For Warzone, the attachments I'd recommend are as follows. So first of all, we've gone for the CX-38S barrel again, and this again, like I said, increases your damage range, recoil control, bullet velocity and sound suppression, with a drawback of reduced aim down sight speed, movement speed, and like I said, this barrel attachment blocks you from putting on a muzzle attachment, but again, it's not too important, so don't worry about it. For the second second attachment, we've gone for the CXFA stock this time rather than the CXFR. And what this does is it improves your weapon handling by increasing your aim walking movement speed and your aim down sight speed, but with a reduced aiming stability as the cost for that. Next up, we've got the CX-9 tack grip again for the rear grip, and this increases your aim down sight speed, your sprint to fire speed, and obviously these both help you with aiming on target faster for close quarters combat, like I said. So it's especially important if you're going to those high flow areas. So for example, like Storage Town, there's lots of enemies, as you'll see in my gameplay. This was great for that. Next, we've got the 50 round mags. So in Modern Warfare multiplayer, it's best probably to go for the 30 round mags because you want to be a bit more mobile. In Warzone, you're going to go through more bullets because you've got to go through their armor, you've probably got more enemies, and it's just, you need more ammo. So I definitely recommend having 50 round mags on this weapon to increase your mag size, to maximize your ammo capacity. But the downside is that you have a bit more weight increase this time, which reduces your aim down sight speed and movement speed, and obviously it's a bit slower to reload, but that's not the end of the world. But it's worth it so you don't keep running out of ammo, so it's definitely important. Finally, we've gone for the Merc foregrip on the underbarrel, and what this does is it reduces your vertical recoil control and improves hip fire accuracy by increasing the stability when firing from the hip. So the main benefit from this is the vertical recoil control improvement, and obviously this means you're more likely to hit targets at the further distances, basically, even at closer distances too, but obviously that's where you'll probably see most of the benefit. You just got to note obviously that when you have this, the downside is that you have a slower aim walking movement speed and aim down sight speed, but this is counteracted by other attachments such as the CXFA stock and the CX-9 tack grip, so it's not to worry about because other attachments will counteract these drawbacks. So for your secondary, what do you want to put on? Well, in my opinion, you want a longer range weapon such as an assault rifle or a sniper. I went for the Farah 83 assault rifle from Cold War, but go for whatever you like or whatever you have leveled up. It's up to you guys. For the perks, I'd recommend putting on EOD in perk 1 to take reduced damage from non-killstreak explosives and fire. In perk 2, I'd recommend putting on overkill so you can carry 2 primary weapons. If or when you get a second loadout, it's probably also worth switching this for ghost, so you can set up a second loadout and switch overkill for ghost so you can get that after you've got your first loadout if you're playing Battle Royale. And in perk 3, I'd recommend going for amped so you can swap weapons faster, but you could also use tracker if you want, especially if you're playing in generally quite close quarters combat areas like Storage Town, like I say, but up to you which one you go for in the third category. For the equipment, again, you're going to want to put on a thermite grenade, something like that for the lethal, so you can throw it quite far, and then for the tactical, a stim shot so you can heal if you're damaged. And then for the field upgrade, again, put on stopping power as rounds do extra damage, and it's great to improve damaged enemies at that further distance, especially in Warzone. So that's the kind of main setup for Warzone, but what about tips on how to use this weapon better in multiplayer and Warzone? So generally, this gun has quite impressive iron sights. Obviously, it's not amazing, but they're pretty decent, so you don't need an optic in Modern Warfare multiplayer or Warzone. And this gun's quite good at close quarters combat and at the medium to long ranges, which is fairly standard. But if you want longer ranges, you'll obviously need to put on a few different attachments. So you might want to put on an optic like the VLK 3.0. You might want to prioritize recoil control a little bit more. We've obviously done it quite a bit in this gameplay, but also focus on other aspects, but you might want to put a little bit more focus on damage range, recoil control, stuff like that. Some attachments we have added have reduced the recoil, but to reduce it even further, you could also aim slightly lower on the enemy than you normally would to counteract that. And also you can repeatedly tap the fire trigger rather than holding it down, and possibly at a slower rate of tapping it. That way you allow the gun to relax a little bit rather than continuously kicking up more and more and giving you horrible recoil, especially at really long distances. It's not too bad at the sort of short, medium distances and slightly long, but at the really long distances, obviously it'll be a little bit more noticeable. So definitely use those tactics if you need to shoot someone at a longer range. But generally be confident with this class setup when rocking it in Modern Warfare and Warzone. I say overall this is a very decent SMG and a very decent class, and I'd highly recommend not missing out on it. And if you guys use it, you'll see it's a really easy class to get kills and go on streaks and stuff in Modern Warfare and Warzone. So definitely try out and let me know your feedback on the class or weapon in the comments section. But thank you all so much for watching. If you found this class setup useful, be sure to drop a like on the video, as it helps me out and helps other people find this class setup. And if you're interested, I have plenty of other videos, for example, gold guide for the CX-9, so if you need to do that, that's a good way to get it unlocked fast. A challenge unlock guide for unlocking the CX-9, how to level up guns fast or level up tiers fast in Modern Warfare, Cold War and Warzone. Again, so feel free to check out any of those, and feel free to subscribe so you don't miss out any of my latest Cold War and Warzone videos. But thanks for watching, hope you found it useful, and I'll see you guys all on the next one.